Welcome back to my guitar couch. This time I'm going to talk about a song that I wrote and why. If you are interested in composing for the guitar, on the guitar, or applied music theory, then I think you might find this interesting. I'm going to talk about chords. I'm going to show you a random melody generating tool that I discovered and how to use it. And I'm going to go on a bit of a deep dive on what is the tonic. So if that kind of thing sounds interesting to you, well, we are brothers and sisters, fellow music nerds. Mike sent me these lyrics, and I really liked them, and they were kind of inspiring. I wanted to write something for it. They kind of remind me of old metal. They were always singing about war. I blame War Pigs for that. And it kind of gave me a vibe of old Led Zeppelin or Iron Maiden. Yeah, so I was hooked. I love old Zeppelin and Iron Maiden. But still, we're kind of an acoustic duo. What am I going to do with a nylon string guitar? How do you write an Iron Maiden song for nylon string guitar? Strangely, there are some guys out there who do amazing classical versions of Iron Maiden songs. I highly recommend them. So it's definitely possible. But what does this song call for? Well, I really liked the galloping rhythm, like in Iron Maiden's The Trooper. It's a eighth note and 2/16 notes, something like that. It sounds like galloping horses, and here comes the enemy army riding in at full speed kind of thing. So with that in mind, I wrote a very simple riff. It's just low E, E an octave up, and D. I like that. I think that works. Kind of boring. We need to add something else. Let's move the bass line around a little. So and that riff really makes up the bulk of the song. But I don't want to play it the entire time. That's going to get a little boring. Let's see if we can expand on that. So that is basically the part that I'm playing during the verses. Then when we get to the pre-chorus, I figure, well, the bass notes are E, G, and A. Let's expand on that. Let's make those full chords. And this is clearly in minor, so let's make the E an E minor 9. This is exactly what an E minor 9 should be. And the G, maybe like a G major 7. Let's do it a little better. If we lift up our pinky, we get rid of the major third, but we get that nice close harmony between the major 7 and the tonic. So this is G, F sharp is the major 7, another G, a D is the 5, and let's just let that high E drone on. I guess I would call this a G major 7, 6, no third. Yeah, whatever. And then the A chord, I wanted to do something cool. So if we take the G like this and just move it up 2, I've always liked the way that sounded. And I finally found a place to throw it in. What are we going to call this? Let's call it, well, this is a C sharp, and the top 2 are E and A. So it's an A major. If we include the open G, that's just an A7 chord. Now the only one we got to figure out is there's this open D. That is the 11. So we could call this A7 add 11. Or whatever. And keeping that galloping rhythm. And I want to keep that galloping rhythm, but instead of just on the low, let's do it high. can see I'm doing a little something to cheat here, so that's too hard to switch between chords. So when I switch between chords, I'm just playing the open E and B. So that makes it a little easy to switch between chords, and you don't really notice it, and the notes fit in pretty well. So that's just a practical thing if you want to play something like that on guitar and make it possible. So that's the pre-chorus. When you go into the chorus, I wanted to do something really dramatic. So let's add some breaks. Then just coming out of the chorus, I'm doing a variation on the G major 7 with the open B. Now it doesn't have a 5, but it has the 3. It's just easier to get to. Another practical thing, switching from here, the A to the G is not easy, so let's just play the whole chorus. Well, that's getting a little tedious. Let's see if we can do something fancy with that, just during the breaks. So one of the variations I wrote goes like this. And that's cool. But you know what? I can do better. And I really like, so because I chose an A major, this riff is actually in Dorian. It is not in natural minor. So let's really emphasize that major 6. Like, that's pretty cool. I don't know if I could do anything more complicated than that, but I think that's plenty. Now, this song, there's not a lot of words to it, but I always imagined in my mind there's going to be lots of instrumental sections. For the middle instrumental section, let's just do a basic Andalusian cadence with big dramatic strumming. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's keep that. Needs more instrumentals, I think. I think there needs to be a great big introduction instrumental and an outro. So and really ominous. Let's make it slow and very minor. Let's try to do it even more minory. Let's do like Phrygian. Let's try F sharp Phrygian. And then you can use, if you use F sharp, you can use that open G for the minor second. Very cool, very sort of Metallica. bass. I wanted a melody part, but I find my rhythms to be really sort of repetitive. I'm playing the same rhythms all the time, and I wanted to explore something outside that. So I found a tool to generate random melodies. There's a lot of stuff out there, but this is the one that I found that I thought was best. It's not quite what I want. I might end up writing my own at some point. I found this tool, the Melisma Stochastic Melody Generator. It is really meant as sort of a way to explore different aspects of melody, and it's pretty cool. It's not exactly what I want, but it does the trick. There are a bunch of different parameters. Let's go through them. Tonality factor, how tonal should the melody be? Stick with 1. If you set the value to something other than 1, it's going to use accidentals randomly. Don't do that. Key profile type. Yes, use all the scale tones as 0. Key, -1 will be random. The key that we want is F sharp Phrygian, but this will be major. Let's come back to that in a second. Mode. They only have 2 modes here, and I don't think this is really a correct use of the term. 0 is going to be major, and 1 is harmonic minor. It is not one of the church modes. It's uses the major 7. And that's fine if that's what you want to do, but if you want to do a straight mode, leave it on major. Now here, tonic endpoints. If it is a 1, it's going to start on the root of the major scale. But we don't want that. If we can change it to 0, it'll just start randomly. And then that'll give us something better if we want Phrygian. Now we're F sharp Phrygian, which I believe is D major is its relative major. So let's make that 2. Yeah, that should be right. There are a few other things. Proximity factor. You're going to have smaller intervals, more steps, and fewer leaps. 0.7 is the default, and I'm sure that's fine. These defaults are pretty nice. Should immediately repeated notes be allowed? You know what, I'm going to say yes. I'm more into this for the rhythms. I don't really care that the melody needs to move. How metrical should the melody be? Oh, that's kind of nice. Let's just leave it at 1 for this, but that's an interesting parameter to maybe explore in the future. Rubato. No. Leave it at 0. I would like this to be on the beat. The performer will do the rubato. I don't need a robot rubato. Rhythmic anchoring. Should notes on very weak beats be restricted to occur only when the notes are blah, blah, blah? Yeah, we don't need that. Number of beats. How long should the melody be in terms of number of beats? 50 is kind of odd. I'd figure it'd be divisible by 4, but whatever. It doesn't matter. And the beat interval in milliseconds, 500. I'm not sure why they didn't put it in BPM. This is 1 beat every 500 milliseconds, which is a half a second, which is 2 beats per second, or 120 beats per minute. And at the bottom, you can put in a seed. I suppose this is useful if you want to share your settings with somebody else and have them get the same thing. I don't know how common that would be. Anyway, let's generate. And we'll get the MIDI file. Now that we downloaded the MIDI file, I opened it up in MuseScore. Well, let's hear what it sounds like. I hated that. But, well, I was more interested in the rhythms anyway. Yeah, not a lot of melodic movement on that. I should probably go back and maybe adjust some of the parameters till I get something that I want. But it's still a great tool. I'm probably going to keep using it until I write my own that just does exactly what I want. But maybe it'll be handy for you too. Now you know that it exists and how to use it. So I listened to a bunch of random melodies and kind of what sounded interesting and appropriate, and I came up with this. Nice, but does anybody hear the problem there? Is that F sharp Phrygian actually? I wanted it to be. I started on F sharp minor, but the thing about the tonic is it's not always what you want it to be. It is what the listener hears it to be. And when I listen to that, I do not hear that wanting to resolve to the F sharp. I start on the F sharp, I end on an F sharp major, but it's not in F sharp. It wants to resolve to the B. That is B minor straight up. It even does the F sharp major, so we know that it's B harmonic minor, at least in parts. If you're not familiar with the tonic and what it is, sometimes it's called the root note or the bass note. The tonic note refers to the musical pitch that a passage wants to resolve to. It's a fundamental concept in Western classical music theory. And nobody's quite sure what it is. There are disagreements on what the tonic is on many different pieces of music. Let's see if we can figure this out. Let's dig in and see what the official definitions of the tonic are. Here's one I found from Britannica. It says tonic, also called keynote. I never call it that, but maybe, sure, why not? In music, the first note degree of any diatonic, for example, major or minor scale, it is the most important degree of the scale, serving as the focus for both melody and harmony. All right, there's some problems with this. First off, it doesn't have to be diatonic. You can have a tonic in scales other than diatonic scales. There's nothing specific about a diatonic scale, so that is flat out wrong. There's no reason to mention diatonic scales in here. Already it's kind of off the rails. Now, it says it's the most important degree of the scale. How do you measure importance? Is there a physical, mathematical formula for which note is important? I don't think so. It's like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, I don't know. Do I need to eat important foods? Maybe I'd just rather eat nutritious foods. And serves as the focus. It's like, and then that's great, but still doesn't tell us what it is. So let's keep looking around. Here's Wikipedia. It says, in music, the tonic is the first scale degree of the diatonic scale, the first note of a scale, and the tonal center or final resolution tone that is commonly used in the final cadence in tonal, musical key-based, classical music, popular music, and traditional music. This is way, way, way better. It's saying first note, but it's talking about the tonal center or the resolution tone. I think that's a lot better way to think about the tonic than the first one. And by the way, we saw the first chords I was playing are both F sharp, so being first doesn't necessarily mean anything. This clearly wants to resolve to B, and B is neither the first nor resolving tone. Well, you could say it's the resolving tone because the very next measure goes back to the 1. So it does resolve. Just because the end of the phrase is not on the 1, a phrase can end unresolved. So they still mention diatonic scales. Dumb. There's nothing diatonic about a tonic. Well, I mean, tonic's in there, but I don't. Whatever. Let's see if there's anything else good on the internet. Here's one. The tonic is the first and last note on a major or minor scale. No, dumb, wrong. We know that's not right. What else? Additionally, it is the most important and central note in the major or minor scale. Why do they keep talking about major and minor and diatonic? It doesn't matter, all right? A tonal center is a tonal center, and it doesn't care what scale you're in. And again, important note, but central, I mean, I guess that sort of describes it, but it doesn't really help us know what the hell it is. If you hear a piece of music, how do you determine what the tonic is? Sadly, you can't, and I think you're just going to have to learn to live with that. This is one of the most important concepts in Western music theory, and nobody knows what it is, and there is no objective way of determining it. So, well, that sucks. The most descriptive way of thinking about the tonic that I know of is talking about what a certain passage, what note a musical passage wants to resolve to. But how does a note want anything? It doesn't. Notes cannot want. We want. The listener wants it to resolve. And who knows what the listener is? So much of where we expect music to go is based on what we are used to. Some cultures, they don't really want melodies to resolve nearly as much as a Western musical listener does. It would be very common for different people to want a piece of music to resolve to different notes. I took the instrumental that I did for the intro and outro and adapted it so that it would fit the lyrics. And I wrote something like this. I love that chord. What is that, like a F sharp minor with a minor second? Also that, diminished 7th chord. C sharp diminished 7th. I think I stole that from Bach's Toccata and Fugue. Hey, if it's good enough for Bach, it's good enough for me. He's public domain by now. Anyway. Well, if you're still watching, thanks so much for this opportunity to kind of geek out about music and theory and things like that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'm going to do more stuff like this. Please subscribe. I have a playlist for all my guitar stuff that I talk about on the couch. Also, this song, Battle of the Ides of March, we recorded in the studio with drums and electric guitar and the whole thing. So if you're curious to what the end product sounds like, please check us out on Spotify or one of the other streaming services. I've put the full tab for this song on our website, link in the description, with hopefully some other useful links. And I can't wait to make the next video and to see you guys again.